Welcome to this explainer, everyone. Settle in. Today we're taking a seemingly random collection of literary exam questions and transforming them into a beautifully curated journey right through the history of English literature. So if you're gearing up for exams like the NET or KSET, or honestly, if you're just a massive literature nerd like me, treat this as our live classroom session. I'm going to guide you through these fragments, give you some really handy memory tricks, and show you exactly how it all connects. Here is our quick roadmap for today. We'll be hitting 5 key areas. 1. Literary theory and form. 2. Shakespeare and early stages. 3. Defining the literary ages. 4. Classic poetry and prose. And finally, 5. Modern drama and laureates.
All right, Section 1, Literary Theory and Form. Let's jump right in.
Okay, imagine you're sitting in the exam hall and you encounter a question about Skopos Theory. You might find yourself wondering, is this about novels, monologues? Maybe it connects to Carl Jung? I'll tell you right now, examiners absolutely love throwing in famous names like Jung as distractors. But the actual answer? It's highly specific.
Skopos Theory strictly relates to the field of translation. It establishes this really firm academic framework. See, the word skopos is actually Greek for purpose. So the theory argues that the whole process of translation should be driven by the purpose or the function that the translated text is meant to achieve in the target culture. Here is a super quick memory trick for your exams. Just tell yourself, scope out your translation.
Right, and speaking of literary forms, have you ever heard of a closet drama? It perfectly defines a play that is designed exclusively for reading rather than an actual stage performance. It's essentially a private theater of the mind. Think of John Milton's Samson Agonists or Percy Bysshe Shelley's Prometheus Unbound. They're structured exactly like plays, but the philosophical depth and frankly the visual impossibilities make them meant for the closet, which historically just meant a small, private reading room. So remember, keep it in the closet, read it in private.
Moving along to Section 2, Shakespeare and early stages. When we look back at the historical timeline of early drama, we really have to start with The Castle of Perseverance. This stands as the absolute earliest morality play, basically teaching audiences moral lessons through these personified virtues and vices. And from those humble, highly didactic beginnings, drama just explodes into the Renaissance, ultimately leading up to the monumental publication of Shakespeare's first Folio edition in 1623. Seriously, burn that date into your memory. 1623 is one of the most frequently asked dates in all of English literature.
Now let's talk about Shakespeare himself. The man wasn't above contemporary satire, famously making fun of the Puritan in his classic play Twelfth Night. If you've read it, you know exactly who I'm talking about, the notoriously buzz-killing steward Malvolio. The Puritans of Shakespeare's day utterly despised the theater. They considered it sinful. So Shakespeare basically clapped back. He created this pompous Puritan character who gets spectacularly and hilariously duped by everyone else. Later on, when you're studying Dr. Samuel Johnson's critiques of Shakespeare, it's absolutely crucial to separate the truth from the false statements. In his famous preface to Shakespeare, Johnson wasn't just some blind fanboy. He was a rigorous critic. He correctly pointed out that Shakespeare sacrifices virtue to convenience, meaning he cared a lot more about pleasing his audience than delivering a strict moral lesson. And he also said Shakespeare sacrifices reason for a poor quibble, which basically just means the man couldn't resist a terrible pun. But what Johnson did not say is that Shakespeare adhered to strict chronology. In fact, Shakespeare famously violated the classical unities of time and place all the time. Watch out for those exact distractors on your exams.
Section 3. Defining the literary ages. Let's chart out a few of these defining eras. We kick off in the Elizabethan period, with Edmund Spenser writing the Shepherdess Calendar, a total cornerstone of English poetry, dedicated to Sir Philip Sidney. Fast forward to the 18th century, and we hit the Augustan Age. Now, you'll often see this on exams as the neoclassical period, because writers like Pope and Dryden were obsessed with imitating the classic restraint of ancient Rome. Finally, we firmly place Queen Victoria's reign. This is a must-know bracket for tests, exactly 1837 to 1901. Mnemonic time. Victoria was just 18 when she took the throne in 37, and she lived to see the dawn of the 20th century, passing away in 1901.
Okay, so you know those complex character matching puzzles that always pop up in advanced tests? The best way to untangle them is to rely on word association. Dorimant pairs up with George Etheridge's The Man of Mode. Lady Fidget goes with William Wycherley's The Country Wife. Malevolo with John Marston's The Malcontent, and Vernish with The Plain Dealer.
These guys are the titans of Restoration and Jacobean comedy. When you're reviewing this material, try to link the character's core personality directly to the title. For instance, Lady Fidget is anxious and restless in the country. Malevolo is, by definition, malcontent and malevolent. Make those connections.
Section 4. Classic Poetry and Prose. Beauties in vain their pretty eyes may roll, charms strike the sight, but merit wins the soul. Reminding us that merit outlasts visual charm, this brilliant quote is attributed to the legendary Sir Alexander Pope. It's from his mock-epic masterpiece, The Rape of the Lock. Do you notice the perfect rhythmic symmetry of that heroic couplet? That right there is the absolute hallmark of the neoclassical period we just talked about. Pope is telling us that, yeah, good looks might catch the eye, but it's your inner worth that actually captures the heart.
Along those same lines, check out this powerful description. A fiery soul, which, working out its way, fretted the pygmy body to decay. This originates from the classic Absalom and Achitophel by John Dryden. It's a brilliant political allegory. These specific lines are describing the character Achitophel, who represented the real-life Earl of Shaftesbury, and how his intense, restless ambition is quite literally burning up his small, frail body. It is an absolute masterclass in character assassination through poetry. Moving from poetry over to profound social prose, Henry Mayhew provided the classic study of industrial London's working class with his massive work, London Labor and the London Poor. Exam trap alert right here. When students read the words industrial London and working class in a prompt, they almost immediately want to guess Charles Dickens or maybe Friedrich Engels. Don't fall for it. This specific, highly monumental sociological study belongs entirely to Henry Mayhew.
And finally, Section 5, Modern Drama and Laureates.
Why don't we have a little game? Let's pretend that we're human beings and that we are actually alive. This incredibly cynical quote comes straight from John Osborne's Look Back in Anger. This is a work that completely revolutionized British theater back in 1956, and it's most suitably categorized as kitchen sink drama. The protagonist, Jimmy Porter, is just suffocating in this cramped apartment, raging against the polite, stiff drawing room comedies of the past. Kitchen sink drama literally gets its name because it depicted gritty, domestic, working-class realities, often setting scenes right around the kitchen sink.
For modern titles, your best strategy is rapid-fire association. We have James Synge writing the powerful Irish one-act tragedy Riders to the Sea. Then we take a leap forward to David Hare's 1990s reflection Skylight, which dives deep into the political and social issues of that specific decade. And we cap it all off with Kingsley Amis, whose final mid-90s works included You Can't Do Both and The Biographer's Mustache. Linking the author directly to the era and the title is going to save you so much time on test day. Now, consider these famous lines from T.S. Eliot's Murder in the Cathedral. The temptation is considered treason by the speaker simply because it's completely self-serving. The speaker here is Thomas Becket, and he's actively facing martyrdom. He has this massive realization that if he allows himself to be killed just so he can achieve the glorious historical status of a martyr, well, then he's committing a spiritual treason. He's doing a holy deed solely for his own ego. It is an incredibly profound psychological moment. And wrapping up our historical timeline today, it was in this specific monumental year, 1995, that the brilliant Irish poet Seamus Heaney was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature. In the absolute rush of memorizing literary dates, just repeat to yourself, Heaney in the mid-90s.
All right, before we wrap up our session, let's do a really quick rapid-fire revision. Ready? Remember to scope out your translation for Skopos Theory. Keep those closet dramas private. Recall Queen Victoria's 1837 coronation when she was 18, and always think Heaney in the 90s. As an overarching exam strategy for those super tricky matching questions, always use the process of elimination by locking in your firmest date or character trait first. Having connected these scattered facts into a cohesive, flowing history today, I want to leave you with this thought. How will you look for the deeper, hidden narratives the very next time you open one of these timeless texts? Keep studying, keep reading, and I'll see you in our next explainer session.